Hey, everybody. Our guest today is a cybersecurity expert, right? Kind of responsible for stopping people like Paige Thompson with the recent Capital One breach and other things like that. Got to start in the Air Force doing that, and he's recently started into a new entrepreneurial venture. Give it up for my friend, Mike Fraser.
My name is Brian Schoenborn. I'm an explorer of people, places, and culture. In my travels, spanning over 20 countries across 4 continents, I've had the pleasure of engaging in authentic conversations with amazingly interesting people. These are their stories, on location and unfiltered. Presented by 8B Media, this is Half the City.
So, yeah, how's it going, man? Doing
it's
good?
Going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Spoken like a true cybersecurity expert.
Spoken like a true software engineer.
There we go. So I want to dive right in. Like, I want to start with where you came from, right? Before you get to your current business and things. Air Force.
It's the only branch you should go into.
All right. Spoken like a true Air Force guy. I don't even know what to call you guys. I'd like to call you
say the civilian branch, the chair force.
The chair force. There we go. I like that one.
many names I've been called by other branch.
That's all right. I'll get him too.
Branches. Yeah.
Our friend Shalene was calling me a crayon eater the other day. That's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I want to hear some stories about your time in the Air Force doing cybersecurity and stuff like that. Kind of some of the stuff you did. Any crazy shit that happened, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's so much we might not have time to cover here, but I think from my perspective, I started out working on. I was actually supposed to go work on B-2 bombers, but they changed me over because I needed people on F-15 Cs and Ds, and right before I went to, or right when I got to tech school. So I ended up getting a top secret clearance.
Oh, sweet.
Ended up working on F-15 C and D models, which was a pretty interesting experience.
So what are you doing on, like, when you're doing cybersecurity on F-15s, like?
No. So this is not cybersecurity.
Okay.
Yeah. This is working on weapon systems.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, so weapons. So in cybersecurity, you have weapons too, but these are actual weapons that will kill people.
Yeah, these are dangerous weapons. Like, these are physically dangerous weapons.
And our motto is we kill people and blow shit up. So
it's pretty straightforward and to the point.
Very. That's weapons. So I was weapons. I went through tech school. Mm-hmm. I was what they call a rope. So I was one of the leaders in tech school. So I ended up marching people back and forth.
Oh, cool.
Made sure people went to PE, and if they weren't there, I'd go drag them out by their, well, I guess not really their hair, but more their whatever they're wearing or whatever they're not. But that's actually where I started my first kind of entrepreneurship as an adult. Mm-hmm. So I got to tech school. I was 19, and I got tech school right before I was 19. I was 18, turning 19, and I started just trying to figure out, because I had an affinity for computer repair stuff, stuff like that when I was a teenager, and I got into talking with the chaplains, and they all needed computer work, and so I was like, okay, $75 an hour, I'll work on your stuff and mark up on all the stuff that I was selling to them, because they either go to the local computer repair shop or they could help an airman out.
Damn, dude, that's buck, man.
Yeah, so that was, and it was cool because out of it I ended up getting, I never actually obviously did anything with this, but I got a recommendations to ROTC, recommendations to the academy. So I was trying to line up things too, like, all right, if I'm interacting with these, it's all chaplains or officers, maybe if I want to go that route, this is the time to do it. So I got all that stuff put together, but then I started really kind of enjoying being an entrepreneur. And so after I got out of tech school and got to my first base, that was at Shepherd Air Force Base in the shithole of Texas, also called the Panhandle.
Oh, okay.
About an hour north of Dallas, an hour south of Oklahoma, and not an hour far enough from being one of the shittiest places to live in the United States. But I made the best of it, so I was able to kind of start building out my entrepreneurial spirit by doing stuff for chaplains on base and some other fellow airmen too. I built some computers there, but when I got to my first base, I started actually building computers out of my dorm. I was the guy building computers out of his dorm room.
Oh, really? Okay.
I set up a wireless network in my dorm and charged other airmen in the dorm and airwomen a monthly fee. So I had DSL coming into my.
You're like the first Cox or first charter.
I had DSL coming into my my dorm, and so I got a couple of high decibel gain antennas and mounted them in my window.
Nice.
And then I would serve it up to the two other dormitories that were adjacent to us.
So you're hitting up everybody just for
Dude, making money off that. Yeah. And then I had I was doing computer repair, or I had actually built computers from people from scratch. So everybody I was working with, so I ended up so I was working in aircraft armament, but I mastered that, and like as soon as I got to the base, it's a super easy job. But I was doing what we call load crew of the quarter. So
what's that?
So essentially, you go and get every month you have to go get certified as going and loading up. In our case, on F-15s, AIM-9Xs, and AIM-120s, so different various missiles. Oh, so we would go and they would time us, and we would go around, and you couldn't get any safety. You couldn't have any safety violations. So you have to do everything properly. You'd mount the missiles. You'd have a jammer. So I was a jammer driver. You drive the jammer up to the aircraft. You'd get it up. You'd mount, or you get the missile up to the pylons wherever you're mounting it to it's essentially engage it into the aircraft, and then you have to put in what we call what are they called, explosive cartridges, or they're called we call them carts for short, but they're essentially these little cylinders that have pellets in them, and what happens is there's an electrical charge that hits them, and when it does, it creates a gas in the chamber and expands, and then launches the missile off of the aircraft. So we'd have to insert those. So when we did our whole thing, we'd have to mount the missile, put in the cartridges, get everything hooked up. If it's a AIM-9X, we'd have to put in essentially argon gas. So there was a lot of steps you have to do. Anyway.
So is there like a everyday person's term for that missile? Like, because I think when I think missiles, I think of like, I don't know. I think Patriot missiles and like Scuds.
So those are more like,
because I don't know anything about missiles.
Yeah, ground. So the missile we were for air to air. So they were from like one aircraft to another. The ones you're talking about are ground to air. Like Scud missiles are ground to air. Yeah. So you're trying to take out aircraft.
Oh, okay.
On F-15, specifically on the Cs and Ds, they are air to air. The F-15E also has the ability to do bombs, so you can drop them. That was another we called AMU, but essentially another unit in our wing that were F-15s as well. So we had F-15s, we had the Cs and Ds, the F-15Es, A-10s. We also had F-22s just coming in, and right before I got out of active duty, we were just bringing in the F-35s.
And what's the F-35?
As far as I know, it's the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, but it's also the most expensive aircraft ever built and still not fully into production. They've been spending a lot of money on that, and that I got out active duty 15 years ago, so they're still
really.
Yeah,
I've been out for about 18, so I got a little more salt.
But I had a bunch of years in the Guard too, so yeah.
Nice.
So back to this. So we did we did monthly load crew. So I was there for, I want to say, a handful of months, and I was on a crew that we ended up getting load crew the first quarter. Then they asked, anybody want to volunteer for Honor Guard? So I was like, hell yeah, I want to volunteer for Honor Guard. It's something else that I could do. So volunteer for Honor Guard, got into that. And so I was Honor Guard for almost a year.
So what does Honor Guard entail?
So we did...
For the listeners.
So we do... So we did all kinds of things that you would think of. You see military members that are, so like at ball games, you see them coming out posting the colors, the flags.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
We would do funerals. So anybody that was going to have a military funeral, we would go to that. And then we would go to events. So we'd be like, so this is in Vegas, in Ellis. So we'd do like boxing matches and all kinds of cool stuff.
Dude.
But then on the flip side of that, we had to do funerals. So that was kind of the worst one. Was there was I'd say worse. We're obviously respecting our military veterans, which is something that I really appreciate that we were doing.
Yep.
But we had one that the guy was morbidly obese, and so we had to have like 8 of us carrying this thing. We're all like trying to hold position.
And you're all Air Force dudes, which you guys don't do anything but like sit in the gym anyways.
Yeah, we just sit in the gym. We should have just had one of the robots we built come out and lift it for us, but I don't know what we were thinking.
Could have gotten like a forklift or something.
Yeah, one of the drones could have flown it in.
Exactly, flown in the body.
So we did that. That was interesting. Very interesting. You could tell who was the strong people and who weren't. And then we ended up. So I did a bunch of 4th of July parades. So remember, this is in Vegas.
Yeah.
And then we had to go to Arizona as well. I think I did 4 or 5 parades in Vegas, and we did 1 parade in northern Arizona. And it was like hell on earth. I mean, we were in our full blues, our dress blues.
Early July, sorry.
Yeah,
we're talking
July.
desert. I mean, I lived in Vegas for 3 years, dude. I know.
So you get it.
Yeah, I know, man. Like I remember, like I was there for 3 years, and I think like 6 months out of the year it's triple digits, and I remember about one day a year it hit $120, and I've never been to the Middle East or so I don't know like what that temperature's like, but 120 is fucking hot, dude. I don't care. Like people are like, oh, it's dry heat.
So it's hot when you're doing. So I was doing honor guard, but it was also equally hot when I was working on the flight line, because you can imagine F-15s testing the engines out, and you're just out there and they're just blasting, and it's just like, and you come in and you have just sweat drenched. And the worst part is when you're doing so we had to do that same load crew or load certification in the summertime too in NBC gear. So we'd have the gas mask on, the charcoal outfit on, the gloves and everything, and having to go load the munitions in that. But the cool thing is, I didn't win 1 load crew of the quarter. I didn't win 2 load crews of the quarter. I won 3 load crews of the quarter and went up for load crew of the year.
You sounding like LeBron and Dwayne Wade right now, dude.
If there was something for load crew people, but yeah, we went up. I have stacks of plaques from all the load crew we won. And again, it was hilarious because I would have to go get recertified while I was an honor guard. So I wasn't even doing the job and still winning load crews of the quarter.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Like, how do you do that? I'm like, this is such an easy job. I don't,
So wait, so you're talking NBC gear, and just for the listeners, because not everyone's military, right? So NBC is nuclear, biological, chemical, protective. This would be protective suits to protect you from like inhaling bad gases or whatever, things like that.
Yeah.
Right. Reminds me of in boot camp doing the CS gas qualification.
Yeah. So I mean, we did that so I went to basic training right before 9/11.
Yep.
And so July, so I went in July, and we had what they call Black Flag almost every day, where at about early in mid-afternoon, they would stop everybody from marching because they didn't want people passing out outside, because ours is in Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, okay.
So it gets pretty hot there too.
Yeah.
July, August.
Yep.
When at the end of basic training, we had, I think we had 3 or 4 people fall out of formation when we're marching.
Really?
When doing,
When you're marching?
Our final march, yeah. It's like, doof.
Sounds like the Air Force.
Okay. All right, I guess you couldn't hang. Like, it was only 6 weeks. Come on.
I know, right? 6?
Yeah, 6 weeks. It's now 8, but it was 6 back then.
Big changes.
Yes,
I was just 13.
Yeah.
Just for boot, dude. Just for basic.
Well, you gotta see if you have the wherewithal to get through it, because it's only going to get worse from there.
Exactly. You think it's going to get better. You think you get that Eagle Globe and Anchor, right? That title Marine. You're like, oh yes, I made it.
In the Air Force, you're like, you get through that, and you go to a really nice tech school where you have, you end up going from 30 trainees, going to airmen in your in basic training. So everybody's got, you got your bed and your foot locker and so on. In the Marines, though, that continues on for a long time. In the Air Force, you go to tech school and it's like, oh, cool. Now it's only three to a room in tech school, right? Maybe 2 to a room, depending if you get lucky. And then once you get to your first base, you may have to share a bathroom. You might have to.
So when I was in the Corps, 13 weeks of boot camp, 60 to 80 guys in one squad bay. So just imagine like a giant, almost like a hostel or something. Right?
Yeah.
Just shitty metal racks, bunk beds with like shitty mattresses. A thin green sheet. Right? Rock hard pillow. You just expected to sleep on that for 3 months straight. Then you get like I went to School of Infantry, right? So then you go to SOI, and it's the same thing. Another 13 weeks, right? Everyone's sleeping in the same damn squad bay, shitty bunk beds. And then once you finally get into the fleet, or you get assigned to your unit out of school, then I was in infantry, so I was assigned to an infantry area in Camp Pendleton, and then we got barracks, so it was a little different. But our barracks were like condemned housing.
Oh, jeez.
They were condemned housing, yeah. And there were 2 to a room, and there were 2, each room. There were 2 rooms next to each other, and they shared a bathroom. So it was 4 people sharing one bathroom. We got to be up and ready for morning formation by like 06, 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's brutal. Yeah, we the worst part about ours was they had brand new they had brand new buildings in tech school for some of the people there. No, but I didn't go to the brand new one, so I got one of the older buildings.
Oh, so it was like 2
So they ended up having to like kick us out for a few days because they had to fix an asbestos problem. That was the worst.
That was the worst?
Yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't condemned though. So
we lived in condemned housing.
And like I was maybe like 6 months after I got there, they're like, oh, you can go off base now. So I got to go off base in pretty short order.
Live off base.
Yeah, live off base. Yeah,
Really?
I wasn't married. I didn't have to get married or anything. Just you want to move off? Yeah, I know.
That's crazy.
Air Force does it. They're like, I mean, you need to be, a respectable airman who's,
Sure, you gotta
they're not going to be like,
together.
oh yeah, you're constantly doing things.
Yeah.
That remember, but I was the load crew of the.
You were the LeBron of load crews. That's how I should have done the intro.
Yeah.
My guest today is the LeBron James of load crews.
But it's funny. So I did that job, but then I went to support, which we essentially would, you'd check out tools to people. But I wanted to be a part of like the IT side of the house, so I helped them. They were putting in the first wireless network on the flight line, and so we were working on putting in some of the laptop, the new Panasonic Toughbooks. We were doing laptops and stuff. So I was helping out a little bit with that, and then that's how I set up everything for my first business, where I could work mid-shift. And so that was after I was done with the honor guard. Went to work in support. Again, I'm doing all this load crew stuff and still winning awards. But I'm working a different job.
Wait, so you're doing load crew, you're doing mid-shift, which I don't even know what that is, because in the Marines, you're always on.
And so there's 3 different shifts.
Oh, you guys got 3 shifts.
3 shifts. And
nice.
so the mid-shift was the 11 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning.
Oh, graveyard.
Yeah,
okay.
graveyard, mid-shift.
Yep.
And so I worked that one. And the whole reason I did that is because I wanted to start my first business, and I wanted to start going to school full-time, because I was a crazy 19-year-old. And so
you got like 3 jobs essentially.
Yeah, essentially 3 jobs. And so I started up a mailbox store and a computer repair shop, 19 years old. And so I got a great story from that. So we start doing the build out, and we're working with this other guy, and we're doing the build out in this new space. We ended up getting what was called a postnet. So this is back before when like mailbox, etc. was popular, and postnet are still around. And so somebody had completed their lease at a postnet, and they didn't want it anymore. So I went over and looked at this place, and they had like $50,000 worth of equipment. They had key machine, they had all the mailboxes, they had just all kinds of stuff all there, like a super industrial scale, the way all your shipping and stuff.
Awesome.
So I was like, this is cool. So we got in, and we get the place, and we start remodeling the inside.
This was in Vegas, you said?
In Vegas. And so I'm in there one day with my BDUs on. They come in to do the inspection for the fire extinguishers and to make sure everything's kosher there. And so they come in, they're like, hey, where's the owner of the store? And I'm in my BDUs, and mind you,
BDUs being camouflage.
Yeah, camouflage.
You know, the blue and light blue.
Yeah, no, they're the green, the old.
Oh, you had the green candies?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have BDUs on battle dress uniforms, what they're called. And so I have that on, and I'm in there, and the inspector comes in and says, "Hey, I'm looking for the owner." I'm like, "No, I'm the owner." And she's like, No, I'm looking for the owner of this place. Like, no, I'm the owner.
You've got like a baby boy face. You're like, "I'm the boss, bitch."
Oh yeah. So I'll show you, because you'll see my ID from back then. Because this is, I mean, I literally look like I was 14. I would go on the strip, and I would get the cops on bikes. They would come up to me after 10 p.m. because in Vegas there's a curfew for teenagers.
Oh, is there? I didn't know.
And so they're like, you need to go off the strip. I'm like, no. I'm actually serving my country here, based here at this bay. Oh, we're sorry, sir.
We're sorry, sir. Oh my God, dude. You look like you're about 12.
Yeah. So she's in there. So she keeps on like, no, I need to talk to the owner. I'm like, okay. So then I bring out all of the paperwork and like prove it. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, why can't I be a young person opening up a store? It's surprising you. Like, don't judge me for thinking that I'm like trying to put on a facade for you, like I'm masquerading as somebody else. I'm like, no, I'm legitimately opening up this store.
Yeah. That's
and yes, I'm in the Air Force, and yes.
Ageism goes both ways.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got ageism constantly back then, all through my 20s. It was ridiculous. But I was in school full time. I was taking 4 classes. I was I opened up the store, was running the store, and I was working mid-shift at the time. So I was just juggling all 3 of those for about 18 months, and I got pretty burnt out.
I was gonna say, dude, like, how do you keep going on that? It's ridiculous.
You just keep going.
How much were you sleeping a night?
I was doing increments. So
in a 24-hour rotation.
I mean, maybe 6 hours if I was lucky. 4 to 6 hours.
4 to 6.
Yeah,
6 is okay, but 4.
Sometimes I'd get 8 in if I could time it right. But that was always like, the people that were supposed to open up the store that worked for me were actually there, and they were opening it up. But like, if not, I was there. So it always came back on me. But yeah, that was interesting, and I would never recommend anybody in the entrepreneurial. If you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you want to start a business, don't do retail. and don't also juggle that with a full-time military career. And a full-time college loan. But if you're gonna do it at 19. Although, recently I just did the same thing. Yeah. So
really?
I fast-tracked my way through my bachelor's and master's, and
that's right. You were telling me about that.
So I went back to school. And decided to do the same thing, where I was juggling that, plus teaching, plus a full-time corporate job, plus my startup, plus a family. So that's even more than I was going on at 19.
That's crazy.
The good thing, though, is I have a wife who was like, no, Michael, some of these things are going to have to stop. And some of these you need to finish because your GI Bill's expiring. So, yeah.
Nice. I want to back it up a second. I'm not sure where this fits in. But I want to talk a little bit about, you're talking about setting up some tents or something with your NBC gear?
Oh, yeah. So
are you talking, are these like the Air Force tents that are like Club Med? You get
air conditioning and no pools, but saunas and massage tables. No.
I was going to say that. I mean, it sounds about right. That's what I heard.
Only when you get deployed. I was active for a little over 3 years, and then I transitioned into the Guard, and then the Guard I changed into essentially a computer systems engineer / cybersecurity engineer role.
Okay. So that's when you got into cybersecurity, like
yeah. And so I was working. I was working that role or starting that job, and in the Guards you can do that before you even go through training. And so I started actually in the Reno International Guard Unit, and then I transitioned to the Guard Unit in California Guard Unit in Van Nuys, California. And so I would go out there once a month, and we ended up having to go do NBC gear for training again. And so we're in Southern California, and it's probably 100 degrees, but it's also fairly humid. And they want us to actually set up everything with our NBC gear on. So we end up having to put all the gear on. And unlike the aircraft, the armament stuff I was doing with weapon systems, where it was like, hey, I'm using like a wrenches and larger tools that you can still manipulate with gloves on and stuff. Now in NBC gear, we had to you get Panasonic Tough Books. I'm doing technical stuff, and there's no way to type on them. So
so for those who don't know what NBC gear looks like, think of like maybe like Jurassic Park when they're trying to touch these like the radioactive material or some shit, like these giant ass suits, these huge gloves, this hooded thing over your head, right, with nothing but like a plastic window kind of thing. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm probably more. It's like, man, it's an actual gas mask, so
it's a gas mask, so even worse. So you're sitting there in 100-degree heat. It's like probably like 60% humidity, right?
Probably even more. Yeah.
Maybe even more, yeah. And you got this gas mask on. So you're basically breathing into your own face on top of everything. So you're doing that, and then you're trying to think. You're trying to think, and you're trying to like tinker, right?
Yeah. So the only way to actually do work on the Panasonic Tough Books was using the eraser heads of pencils on them. Because there's no dexterity. So you have no dexterity with the gloves on, and then on a Panasonic Tough Book, because they're made for industrial environments. The keyboard is completely waterproof. That also means that the keys are all sealed together. So they work independently, but you have to like really push on each key to get it to input. And so anyway, long story short, for every 1 hour of work, and we're spending hours of work trying to get stuff done. So I worked through an entire weekend. Through the training with NBC gear on, no sleep whatsoever.
The whole weekend.
The
with
whole
this
weekend,
gear?
The whole weekend.
You're wearing this
wearing
crap
the
whole week.
Yep.
You're playing with pencil. You're basically finger pressing keyboards with the pencils.
Yep.
The whole weekend.
Exactly.
No sleep.
No sleep.
Jesus Christ, man.
Because I was like, well, we need to get this done, and furthermore, not to throw guard people under the bus, but you realize, like, in the guard, a lot of people in the guard, they don't do the same job in the civilian world that they're doing in the guard.
Right.
So if they have nothing more than tech school, they're really not engaged, and they don't really contribute a whole lot, and so kind of sucked. It was good and bad. The good part was, if you knew what you were doing, you get to do all kinds of cool stuff. The downside to it was you could work entire weekends without sleep. Just because you're like, well, we need to get this done. We need to get through this in exercise. We need to get this, and if we don't get the exercise done, then we could, fail whatever we were doing at the time. So it was one of those things where it was like, no, I'll put in the time. But I'll tell you what, it also was one of those things where you get burnt out because you're just like, oh, this is
I can't even imagine
so much work that you end up doing in so little time. And again, the guard is 1 week in a month and 2 weeks a year. So. And I was running my startup or my computer company as well, and so I would try to consolidate a bunch of weekends at a time. So I'd go out there for like 3 or 4 days straight and just do all 3 or 4 days and then bounce back, so I could do a few months at a time instead of having to go every single month.
Okay. I didn't know you had that option.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You just have to try to figure out if you can make that work.
Air Force is flexible. Air Force caters to you. I get it.
The chair force, the civilian.
The chair force. No, that's cool, but dude, that's crazy. Like I said, I couldn't even imagine like sitting in a suit like that, in that type of weather conditions, for 3 days. 3 days or whatever.
It's brutal.
I'm surprised you didn't like pass out from heat exhaustion or just sleep deprivation or whatever.
That's why you just keep on trucking.
Yeah, I hear that. For sure.
Plus, I was in my 20s, not in my 30s. If I tried to do that now, I could probably still do it now, but it would be more mental than physical. So I just power through it.
Yeah. No, I hear that. What other kind of? I know you've got some other stories. Something about Keesler Air Force Base.
Yeah. So
I know you're saying something about that.
Yeah. So interesting story. I was at Keesler Air Force Base, and if everybody doesn't know where Keesler is, it's in Biloxi, Mississippi, and so
which Biloxi is, just geographically,
it's on the Gulf Coast.
It's on the coast.
Yeah, literally on the coast.
On the coast. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I try to get my guard unit to not send me to tech school because I have civilian world understanding of the tech school they're going to send me through. And I'm like, I already know all this stuff. And they're like, nope, you still have to go through training. And then I say, well, I have my business too, and I'm literally like the only person that has like an outside business that I'm actually running. I don't have a job. I actually have a business I'm running. Mm-hmm. And so they say, nope, you're going. So I ended up having to shut down my company
Really?
Well, in the middle of a couple projects, yeah. Thankfully, I had a really nice family that let me live with them for a little bit before I went, so I was able to kind of, I didn't have to deal with, having a place or anything else. And so I got my orders. Oh, and there's actually another funny story, and then I'll get into what Kiesler. So I ended up going to the airport. They ended up canceling my flight that day. And I was flying from Vegas up to Reno to get my orders to then come back to Vegas to fly out of Vegas. So I ended up hopping in my car and driving from Vegas to Reno, which is a 7-hour drive.
Yeah.
Getting my orders signed off.
But like that highway though, like I've taken that road, like it's just like long and straight.
Yeah.
And like you can see like 20 miles ahead of you.
Oh yeah. No, it's God forbid you break down.
But I remember like I've driven up that way and I remember seeing like a semi.
Yeah.
And it's like a semi coming the other way, and you're watching it for like 20, 30 minutes, and it finally
gets you there. The horizon is so far down. But so I get my orders, I turn around, and I'm driving back. Right, it was all on the same day.
Yeah. Wait, so you drove to Reno?
I drove all the way to Reno from Vegas and back, but it gets better. So I'm driving back, and I'm trying to get back as fast as possible. So I'm going pretty fast over the speed limit. And I get pulled over.
Incriminate ourselves.
Yeah, no. I know this is a good story. So I get pulled over, and the guy walks up and he's like, "Where are you coming from?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm coming from the Reno Air National Guard unit." And he's like, "You know how fast you were going?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but you're gonna tell me, right?" And I was going like 20 over. And he's like, "I could take you to jail right now, but I'm just gonna give you a warning, and I'm gonna call, and I'm gonna make, I'm gonna put this in, and I'm gonna give you a warning, and I'm just gonna let you off, and take you short of our country, but please be responsible." So I'm like, okay. So I'm driving. So about 2 hours later, I didn't learn my lesson, speeding again, and I get pulled over again.
Oh, shit.
And I'm thinking to myself as the officer's walking up, like, God, I hope he didn't like put something on my actual record, because I had no tickets or anything up to that point. I had nothing. I had a super clean, squeaky clean record. Yeah. And he walks up to the car and he's like, "You know that you know how fast you're going?" And I'm like, "No, you're gonna tell me, right?" And same thing. And I was going like really fast, and so he comes back and he's like, "Everything looks fine, but I'm gonna give you off the warning too." And I'm like, "Oh my God, okay." But he's like, "I'm gonna tell you this, right? You have 2 more counties you have to drive through." I'm rating him ahead and letting him know you're coming, because we know all the cars that are coming, because there's not that much traffic that's coming between Reno and there. So as long as you stay as long as you stay the speed limit, I'm gonna let you off. So he walks away, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I just dodged another bullet." And so I drive, I start driving out of there. I put my car in cruise control. Exactly the speed limit, 70 miles an hour, all the way back.
Oh God!
And so so after that, so then I get back and I fly out the next day. So I'm like, "Oh, that was crisis averted twice."
Yeah, no shit.
Because
like they could have taken your car. You could have gone to jail.
Oh yeah,
reckless driving or whatever it is.
Yeah. So ever since then, I've been a very, very, very good driver, and not had to deal with that again. But I was young, and I was trying to get back. I was just like, good God, I missed my flight. It's an hour flight to Reno.
Yep.
Now I'm driving 14, 15 plus hours back and forth, and I got to fly out the next day.
All because you missed your flight.
Yeah, exactly. So just like, oh, like you can't give me these orders. You can't fax them to me. You can't. No, you got to be here in person. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, so I fly to Biloxi. I start my tech school, and that year before they had just finished our building, our training building that we were in, and it was hurricane proof. So I started tech school, and I'm going through tech school in 2005, right?
You had a brand new building.
Brand new building.
Oh, it must be nice.
So July, it was super nice. Yeah, Air Force. Yeah, Air Force.
Marines don't get anything new.
You get whatever the Air Force deems as your Army or whomever. Yeah, we don't want this anymore. Yeah, we'll give it to the Marines. So we started tech school, and because I stopped my.
I heard that on my microphone.
Yeah.
So they're playing Nerf basketball in the office next door.
Somebody alley-ooped. So they do so we started tech school up, and so of course I shut my business down. So they let me stay off base because they didn't have any base housing, and so so I'm like, oh cool, so I'm like at Howard Johnson right off base, and the guy who owns it, he owns like 5 different hotels, and they have no Wi-Fi. They're all wired. So I'm like, perfect opportunity. I'm gonna propose to him to install Wi-Fi at this as a pilot, and then if he likes it here, during the entire time I tech school, I'll do all of his hotels.
Nice.
So I start getting everything set up. I'm gonna do the implementation.
Yeah.
And then this was in August, end of August. They tell us come onto the base because Katrina's coming. There's this Hurricane Katrina thing that's coming. And we're like, oh, okay. And mind you, as a teenager, I lived in Florida, so I went through a few hurricanes.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm thinking to myself, okay, but then they're like, well, it's a Category 5. I'm like, no, there's no freaking way. We're going to the base, and we're gonna start up school the next day. But they were like, it's so optimistic. We're in a hurricane-proof building. We're gonna start up tech school the next day. I'm just like, yeah, that's not happening, but it's cool. I'm gonna bring some of my gear because we need to set up to have a LAN party. So, and a LAN party is where essentially we all set up our laptops and we play games.
Yeah, exactly.
So we built out the LAN, and then mind you, we're all like nerds there. Yeah. So it's so we set up everything, and we have all our cell phones. So we hooked up all the cell phones so we could talk through the LAN on IM.
Oh,
so we're all talking to like 3 a.m. in the morning when the cell phone tower's battery and generator batteries go out, and then everything just down. But we were talking till there was no further point of communication through the cell towers, and that's when Hurricane Katrina's coming full on.
Yeah.
And so it comes on full on, and we see, like, even before the eye of the storm comes and knocks out, everything gets knocked out later on, the very beginning of the storm, I'm seeing like little buildings getting just lifted up out of the ground and flying down the flight line. Oh yeah.
Shit.
There's like just massive debris everywhere, and we're in this hurricane-proof building, so we're all good. Although it sprouted a leak, so it was like
not
leaking
quite hurricane-proof. Like 99%.
Yeah, it was hurricane-proof to the point where we wouldn't die in it with 140 mile an hour winds, but we could all drown from the water. But we got a leak in there. But we're playing so we're playing LAN parties. There's a generator in the building, so we're playing that. We're all good there. And the next day rolls around, and the hurricane passes, and the aftermath is just, obviously, as we know now, devastating.
Yeah, for sure.
So we walk outside, and we're just like, yeah, we're not starting school up today, and we're also probably not heading home anytime soon. So for about the next 2 weeks, we start helping clean up the base, and so we're having to flush toilet, having to not flush toilets if we. We have to try to conserve water.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
eating MREs, and they ran out of food pretty quickly.
Oh, you guys had to eat MREs.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah. What was your favorite one?
Oh man,
did you guys use the steno cans? You probably did. Huh?
No, we had the bags with the
heating thing.
Yeah, the heating bag, the heating thing in it, but it's the bag. So we just throw it in the bag, and it heats up in the bag.
Oh man, that's high tech.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We had the steno can option, but we could never use them, so we just ate all our shit cold.
Because you could turn them into like little bombs.
Yeah, right, exactly. I remember the 5 Fingers of Death. It was the hot dog MRE.
Oh yeah. Oh. We had really nice ones. We had like beef stew and.
I think I had beef stew.
Yeah, we have spaghetti and meatballs.
Oh, nice.
There was all kinds of really good ones. And the nice thing was
high quality food.
They'd have I wouldn't say high quality, but yeah, higher quality than.
God, I remember the beef stew. Oh, we used to eat that shit cold because when we were in the infantry, we're in the field, right? So we're like camping out. And nothing but their sleeping bags and our weapons, right, or backpacks. But they would say you can't light the steno cans because that makes you a target, obviously, right? So we're eating like cold ass, like beef stew, like when it's cold, it's like if you ever look at like beef or like pork or something, it's coagulated, right? So the fat is like thick and white and stuff. That's what you're eating in this beef stew.
At least you can still recognize it's fat, though, so that's good. Right?
Hardly. Yeah. It's a whitish substance.
This is supposed to be nutritious. Okay, fine. Yeah, we used to have, and we would have, they would have cookies and candy in ours, and so we'd have some people just like stockpiling that, so you just like. Then they're
like selling them. It becomes currency, like cigarettes.
We didn't get to we didn't get that becoming currency in Keesler. It was getting close. So we were there for almost 2 weeks, and they come into it. They come in, and we hadn't showered. We're conserving water. Yeah. Nice thing is we set generators, so we're still playing LAN and the Xboxes.
Oh, nice.
It was going constant in the PlayStation awesome. All the way through. But that got old too. And so finally they come in, they give us orders that just say, fill in your name and figure out how to get home. So we're like, okay, fine. So I end up, and they had all of the cars of everybody that had driven there parked between the hangars. And the hangars had old tar and gravel roofs. And so they just became like projectiles. When we got out, it looked like somebody had just taken a machine gun and just shot up all the cars.
Jesus.
Windows busted out and everything. So one of the guys that I was there with, he was from Atlanta, and so he's like, he had still his windshield intact. He had a quarter tank of gas. He's like, hey, let's bounce. So throw all of our bags in the back of his truck, and we roll out of there.
Nice.
When we get to Alabama, and it is looking. So even before we drove out of there, so we drove out of there, and 2 of the 3 bridges that connected the mainland to the beach side were knocked out. Wow. And so there was just one bridge to fly over. And when I was driving over, I could actually see there was like I think they call it a Save-A-Lot, where people were like going there to get food. And you could see like fights breaking out, like just full on like little riots, little fights happening down
Katrina
there.
Was
and just
nasty, dude. You know what's funny is like most people when you think about Katrina, you think about New Orleans.
Yeah.
Right? But like, Biloxi and Alabama, obviously it's east of that. Like, at least me, like I don't typically think like those areas were as affected.
But we had
like to hear about this stuff, with the windows blown out and like people fighting over food or to save a lot and stuff like that. Like, it was a big ass hurricane, dude.
I mean, the aftermath of what happened in Biloxi was the entire beach side. There was there was a casino. There was a restaurant casino. It was like an old pirate. It was looked like to be like an old pirate ship. Ended up like a mile or 2 down the road. I mean, it was like crazy stuff happening. The Hard Rock Casino got flooded on multiple floors. They were just about to open. That happened because I ended up was one of the casinos playing blackjack. Before it happened, and they were all at the Imperial Palace there, and they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna start out here, and then I was like, Katrina's coming. I'm like, no, you're not. There's no way. There's no way. Yeah. And there was like I think over 1,000 people that were supposed to start work there, and they all got dispersed out of their hard rocks around the world. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. But the hotel that I was doing work at got completely wiped out too. And then back to getting out of Keesler. So we book it out of there, and we get to Alabama. I'm pulling to a gas station, and there's like 200 people deep because everybody needs fuel and they're trying to get out. And so I was like, no, we got to pull up to the cops that are up there like trying to keep pandemonium from breaking out. And the cops were like, oh yeah, you're come from Keesler? Yeah, we'll let you in. So they let us in. Everybody's like cheering us on to like drive into the front, get gas. We're like, oh, okay, well, cool.
We're cheering on the Patriots that are also trying to run from the storm.
We're like, we're trying to get out of here. we already put on our 2 weeks. Just want to get home. So I get to the airport, and he drops me off, get to the airport, and walk up to the airline and go to get a ticket, and I'm standing like 10 feet back because I smell like just, like
hell.
Yeah.
Boiled
horrible.
asshole, I think is the proper term.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a Marine term, by the way.
That's right.
And so I'm just like, I just want a first class ticket back home, and I want to get back home. So I ended up getting a first class ticket home. Booked at the nicest hotel they had there, the Crown Plaza, Crown Point, Crown something.
Yeah. Booked
the hotel room. It got like $100 and some odd worth of room service. I think I took like a 3-hour shower.
Yeah, you're making up for lost time.
Nice. So it was just like, oh man. So I get back, and it was just like, yeah, it was crazy. And we never ended up going back to tech school because it took them forever and a day to repair the base. And at the same time, I think the chief of one of the chiefs at the base got like dinged for looting the BX.
Really?
There's this full-on story about it. It's like, what?
There's a storm, and he's like, we're all gonna die.
Yeah. It's like looting the BX. It's like, what? All right,
in his mind.
Sure. That's where your mind goes. You're gonna go take some stuff from the BX. All right. All right.
That's leadership.
Yeah. Good times.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I ended up leaving there, but that's So I was actually in Hurricane Katrina as it hit there at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. So that's not too many people can have the claim to fame. Like I said, the only place closer would have been New Orleans. But,
Yeah.
I think Biloxi got hit pretty bad too. I mean, the fact that they couldn't even get us out of the base
For 2 weeks.
They had to give us orders where we essentially just threw our name in. There was no process. There was nothing anymore. It was just like, get out. We can't deal with you anymore.
So tech school's canceled.
Yeah.
Did you get your certificate or whatever?
No, never did. Never did.
Nothing ever came from it?
No, because I was like, I'm not going back to tech school again. You want me to uproot my life all over again at a later point in time?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So
I remember I was in college, actually. This was after I was out of the Corps. I was in this business fraternity. And I was a social chair. And when Hurricane Katrina hit, it was pretty devastating. I went to school up in Michigan, in the state of Michigan. As social chair, I threw this Kegs for Katrina party. And essentially,
why did you send any to us at Kiesler, man? We would have been down with some kegs.
No, we brought the people in for the drinks. We brought the people in for the drinks.
Kegs.
We had something like 500 people. We had 2 DJs, dude. Like, it was crazy. And just charging $5 a head, and like, so it was like 20. What's 5 times 500? $2,500. That's not a huge amount of money, but we took all that money and sent it to the Red Cross, and try to help people out in need. But that was a pretty crazy storm, man. I lived through a hurricane as well.
Which one?
Hurricane Sandy. I was in Hoboken at the time. This is just before I left America.
He's back, though, by the way.
I'm back. I'm in Seattle right now. I was in Asia for about 4 years, but I'm back. I'm in Seattle right now. I'll be elsewhere soon. But I remember, so actually 2 hurricanes I survived. I was in Boston when Hurricane Irene came through, and everyone's freaking out. Oh my God, Hurricane Irene! I bought a hurricane emergency kit, in the form of pizzas and beers.
Yeah.
Right. And me and my roommate, my girlfriend at the time, and his girl or whatever, like, we're all huddled up in our house, and they're like, "Oh, the hurricane's coming," and I go outside for like hours, and it was just like a mist. Like, I'm drinking beers. I'm like, "You call this a storm?" I'm like Lieutenant Dan and shit.
Yeah.
No, but it never happened. It didn't really. It just like brushed over, right? Yeah. So then, when I was living in New York, like a year or so later, whenever Hurricane Sandy,
you were just like, hurricanes.
Yeah, right. I'm like, this hurricane's gonna be huge. Oh, okay, whatever. So I'm in Hoboken, and Hoboken's right. It's on the New Jersey side.
I know Hoboken because I know Cake Boss.
Yeah, exactly. No, for real. Yeah. But it's right next to New York City, next to Manhattan, right? It's just on the other side of the Hudson River. I went to the shore as the hurricane was coming in, and that one was no fucking joke. I brought my girlfriend out there with me. She was from China, and she's standing there. She's like 5 feet tall, like 90 pounds. She's going, "This is crazy." Like, "Why are you doing this to me?" And I'm like, "I want to check this out."
You didn't have your hurricane-proof building that you were inside.
Oh, I mean, we went back there, but
did you go to the amusement park on the roller coasters? Right there on the beach, right as it was coming in.
I should have. I know. No, we just went to the little coast where you can go in the water or whatever, like a beach. No,
you shouldn't have, because that whole thing got like completely.
Yeah, I know. Like, no, so like we saw this coming in. Like, trees are like blowing like halfway over, right? There were like the street signs were like flailing like hardcore in the wind, So we made our way back to our apartment, and we're like, "Holy shit, this is crazy." And at one point, like this emergency alarm went off, like a fire alarm or something. And like right after that happened, power gone. Cell phone towers gone, electric gone. We had a refrigerator full of food, but I'm like, "Oh, we can't even cook this stuff." I find out we had no power for like over a week. We eventually made our way into the city, and it was like going from the Stone Age into
Didn't
modern
Sandy
times.
happen like close to fall time? It was like colder then too.
Yeah, it was just before our Halloween.
Yeah.
Just
so it was
before
pretty
Halloween.
late. Yeah, so it was like super. It was getting pretty chilly.
So we were wearing jackets when this happened. We were wearing jackets, and then like a couple days later, it snowed.
Yeah. Okay,
right?
that's what I remember. Yeah. Because that's like the epitome of like never happening ever except this one time.
Well, and here's the thing about Sandy was like, it was raining hard, right? winds crazy, right? But it wasn't the flood, the downpour that caused all the damage. You know, we had American Red Cross, Army National Guard was there, CNN was there, Diane Sawyer was over there covering it, like that sort of thing. It wasn't so much the downpour as it was the storm surge up the Hudson River. I remember watching the streets flooding, and it was coming up through the sewers. It was fucking gross, dude. Like poop water. I'm not even kidding. Poop water just rising, and it rised up. We were like 3 or 4 feet flooded, dude. There's people cruising around in little like rafts and shit.
You should be swimming doing a backstroke.
Oh, God, it was so gross. It was so gross. You know, a lot of
something
people...
you couldn't even be protected from NBC gear by.
No, right? No. So, I mean, you know, we survived. A lot of people, you know, there wasn't a lot of damage to our place because we were higher up in the apartment. But, you know, a lot of people lost their stuff, whole lives and things like that. You know, it was terrible. But yeah, hurricanes.
Yeah, that's brutal. Thankfully, most of my stuff was in a very well protected storage unit in Las Vegas. So I didn't,
oh yeah, you pretty much walked away from that unscathed.
I had a bunch of stuff at the hotel that got completely annihilated, but it was just like, well, you know what? That's insurance, so that's what you got to do.
Yeah. So what? I want to shift back to your entrepreneurial stuff. We can talk about that for a little bit. You mentioned something. Was it the mailbox computer store that you had with the lease thing? There was like something going on with your lease. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So I signed. So this is actually funny because it's been 15 years now since I've actually talked to my stepfather, who was a part of the little story I haven't actually told on any forum of any sort other than just, you know, telling people the actual story. And it's interesting because I was actually going through a bunch of old paperwork, and I have this folder full of all the paperwork from this particular story that I'm about to tell you.
Yeah.
So I had my first store, mailbox store and a computer repair shop, and I was 19, and I had another business partner who was in his 20s, but we both didn't have credit, so we needed credit. So I talked to my stepfather and said, hey, I want to open up the store. I want to be able to make a go at this. And so he agreed to sign on the lease, so he'd become an actual owner of the business.
Yep.
But didn't have to front any cash or anything. It was all from all the work that I did from all the computers that I built from people, and just generally speaking, saving money and getting a loan against my car. I opened up the store. So I did that, and a few months later, after the holiday season, he asked us he wanted us to start paying him money out of the business because he signed on. We're like, look, we just started this thing out. We're trying to make this work. Nobody's taking money out of this. We just need to make this a successful venture. We just came out of being able to, pay to put up the sign and pay for various things that we needed with the business. So we did that. And so we said, no, we can't do that.
So he's just like out of nowhere. He's like, pay me.
Yeah, pretty much.
So but what was his function? Like he's just literally just a scribble on a lease.
Yeah. Sign the lease. So
awesome.
nothing. So,
God.
So I'm just like,
he's like a slumlord who's always step kid.
Like, exactly. Yeah. And I have more stories about that, but we'll focus on this one.
That's fine.
So, and mind you, this is the same individual who, in order to leave to go into the Air Force, had me sign a promissory note for him for my bonus so that I could get transcripts because I was homeschooled. Okay.
Wait. So he paid you, or he made you pay him?
He made me sign. I never ended up actually paying him because we had this whole falling out. But yeah, he had me sign a promissory note.
What?
Yeah.
Dude. This guy, man.
Some shady shit, I'll tell you.
That's a way to treat your family.
Yeah,
and for what it's worth, he wasn't blood.
No, of course. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Clearly, Jesus Christ.
But interesting. I have another interesting story around that, and then I'll get back into that story because it segues into this. So I in the ASVAB, I aced the ASVAB. Right?
Nice.
So I went in and did the training for the ASVAB. I got 98. I got a super high score in the ASVAB as well. And but I went into basic training, and since I had to sign the promissory note, he gave the transcripts. And so I get in, and he's like, he had somebody call in, some woman. call in and tell him that, oh no, his transcripts aren't good. So they call me in. They pull me out of formation. They call me into the commander's office. I go in there and have to talk to him like, hey, what's the story about this? What's happening here?
Yeah.
They're like, we may have to kick you out.
Wow.
And so we're like, we'll kick you out to the front of the gate and you just forgot to try to get home. And I'm like, oh. So but we're going to review your stuff. So I'm like scared shitless.
Yeah,
no
like, shit. That's crazy.
I'm not going back home.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to the Air Force to get away from my house.
Yeah.
So I'm there but they call me back in about 2 days later and they're like, oh, with your ASVAB scores, Michael, we're going to give you a waiver. So I'm like one of the only people in the Air Force that got a waiver just from having ASVAB scores. Because in the Air Force, you actually have to be educated.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, I mean, I got a 97 on mine, dude. I got a 97.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
They said I could do whatever I wanted to do, and I said, fuck you, give me a gun.
Because
I'm smart, but I'm fucking nuts.
So nice. But I got mine being homeschooled. So and even better. So
I get it. You're better. You're smarter.
No. But even more interesting than that.
Cool.
I get my waiver.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're good to go. So I never actually went back to get my GED or anything. Mm-hmm. So when I got to my first base, I was taking college credits. Well, they assume everybody who's in the Air Force has a high school diploma, so they don't even ask.
Yep.
So I roll in and just start taking courses. Mm-hmm. And so I took courses back then, and and due to the entrepreneur stuff I was doing, starting my businesses, I just kind of tabled that and said I'll come back to school later on because I got like halfway through my I got enough credits. So I almost had halfway through my bachelor's, but it was essentially like
an
associates. Yeah. So I did a bunch of classes, but I never finished. And so I went back to school to finish in 2016 and finished my bachelor's and then got a master's in computer science.
Wow. In 3 years.
In 3 years.
Nice.
And I don't even have a high school diploma. So. And I don't need one. It's all good though. But I'm probably the only person that anybody's ever known that has a master's degree. Bachelor's and a master's, but no high school diploma.
Take that, institutionalized education.
Yeah. Not saying don't finish something and start.
I've got teachers in my family, dude. I get
it. But, it's fine. But high school's not all it's cracked up to be.
No. Well, it just means, you can be successful without it.
And if you have the aptitude and you can have the wherewithal to get through a program, you can do it. But back to the story. So when it comes to the store, so he's asking for money, and so we say, no, we can't do it. And so he says, okay. So he calls up the property management company that has the lease and says, hey, look, I want my name pulled off of this. And they're like, well, you have to get a guarantor. So so the other guy that I'm with, we jump in the car, we drive to Santa Monica because that's where the property management are like, hey, we really want to keep the store going. They're like, sorry, you need to have somebody else to sign this lease because, it's a, multi-year lease. And we just, even though you've been running this thing and paying us, we really need to have somebody that's older on it. So we're just like, okay, well, and so we ended up having to close down the store.
Damn.
So we had to close down the store
because he was trying to extort you, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So we ended up closing down the store, and he ends up getting super, super vindictive about it. And so I don't know. It's a little while later, and I get stopped at the base at the gate, and they're like, "Oh, you have to come in for a drug test." I'm like, "What? Okay, whatever. I'm fine." So I go in for the drug test, and they're like, yeah, it's a random drug test. And then I go in for it, I'm, completely passed. And then I get called in the commander of the base's office. And I also, the base, not even my commander, of the base. And,
so is he like a general or something?
Yeah, general.
Jesus
and
Christ.
OSI, so General Wood at the time. And OSI is investigating too. And so they're in
which
because
OSI is?
The Office of Special Investigations.
There we go.
Yeah. And so they're investigating too. So I have to go and talk with them. I'm recording all these phone calls from him, these emails from him. He sends a letter to the base about telling him how I'm a drug runner and I'm a homosexual, all these things. And I'm just like, oh my God. So I'm having to go explain myself. And then at the same time, he contacts, and then he's essentially also saying that I perpetrated a fraud on the lease, right, by forging a signature, which, funny enough,
good Lord, man.
He signed the lease. I put the date on there because he didn't end up putting a date, right? So we tried to use that as he dated it. I didn't, so it's a forged lease. I'm like, dude, it's your signature, and you agreed to this, and you were a part of the business initially. Yeah. So okay, so they investigate. Then North Las Vegas Police Department gets involved too, and says, "Hey, he's accusing you of fraud." So I had to come in there and present all my stuff to them, and of course everything gets dismissed because there's no fraud, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
So then he turns around and files a TPO against me. So I get served a temporary protection order.
Oh, really?
Serves
Like a
it against
restraining
me.
order?
Yeah. Saying I threatened his life because I bought a gun from my roommate, so I owned a gun, and I threatened him that his life was in danger.
Oh, come on.
So then,
the bad guy's scared shitless because he tried to go after you, and you're like, fuck that.
Yeah. So then I'm just like, okay. And of course,
you're military, and you got a gun. He's like, oh, man.
And he doesn't show up to the court, and they dismiss it. I'm just like, oh, my God, what is happening here? But it's one of those things where you're just like, this type of stuff, you can't make it up.
Right,
like, you go through it, and like I said, I have like a stack of things, or a whole stack of paperwork from this, and it's just like one thing after another, and you can't even believe that this is happening to you. I mean, I can believe it because, I used my stuff on it for a long time. Yeah. So he's a very, very vindictive, very evil person. But at the same time, it was blowing my mind, like one thing after another. And it's like, what is happening here? And he's just, like super, super vindictive. So I haven't talked to him in 15 years.
Is he still with your mom?
No.
Okay.
Thankfully they've.
Well, at least you got reason not to talk to him.
Yeah. He's
got
none of my siblings.
No reason.
None of my siblings talk to him, as far as I know. So
sounds like a fucking asshole.
He's completely checked out. He's now married to like a mail order bride.
Oh, really?
He was like doing like these weird trips to the Ukraine and
geez.
just popping over there, and
It's
anyway.
so weird and wrong on so many levels.
I don't know. I say mail order. Who really knows? All I hear is this crazy shit.
But if you're flying to Ukraine to find and meet your bride, I think I'm pretty sure that's textbook mail order.
Just like flying over there, flying back. Like, what are you doing over there?
Yeah, and the next thing you know, he's married.
Yeah. Just like, okay.
I met someone over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
All right.
But so okay, that's a crazy ass story. I want to hear more about that offline.
Yeah, if I show you all the documents, you're like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Like, you just start reading through it and you're just like, he really sent this to the base? He really did that? I mean, I have all the emails, all his faxes, I have everything that happened from back then. And you're just like, this really can happen to somebody? Like, especially when I'm like serving my country. Yeah. I'm at my base.
You're the LeBron James.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Right? Like,
I'm trying to I'm trying to just make a life for myself, and you're just dealing with this stuff. Like, and this is
such bullshit.
One of many stories I have where you're just like, I can't even believe this is happening.
Yeah.
Like, why is this? What is how did I get to a place where this is happening?
Mm-hmm.
And but eventually you realize,
it,
but you also realize like you have, you're able to have resilient. You're able to be resilient. Sure. You're able to have the wherewithal to kind of move past it.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, you're just like...
But when you're in it, like when you're in the moment, for sure, like...
You're like, I'm being accused of what?
Yeah.
That's the furthest thing from the truth, but
you got the base general and the Office of Special Investigations breathing down your neck. You're what, 19, 20 years old at this point?
I was 20, 21, or... Yeah, 20, turning 21.
Okay, so you're like... But you're still like basically a baby at that point.
Yeah.
And you've got these guys breathing down your necks over like... complete false accusations.
Oh yeah. Especially accusations at the time are like being a homosexual or even now, being a drug runner or whatever. It's like those are things that you bring them up to a base and they're like, what is happening here? What is he doing? What is happening?
Well, because back then it was like, don't ask, don't tell.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. You couldn't at all.
Yeah.
And funny, I think my chief was he your first sergeant, or you ended up being chief master sergeant in the Air Force. Or somebody, there was a few people there that ended up being gay after the fact, and you kind of like knew a little bit that they were, but then after the fact, you're like, oh, okay. And then like, I didn't care. But
I don't care either. Like, you're all there for the same purpose. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, who gives a shit? People are willing to put their lives on the line for the country. Like, who cares who you want to fucking...
It's like use it. It's like the same thing with like a bathroom situation. Like, I don't choose whatever bathroom you want to go in. No, okay, fine. Dude,
when I'm at home, I've got one toilet.
Yeah, you know what I mean? When you're out and about, you're like, I'm not like looking under stalls going, oh, that person has these shoes on. They must be this, they must associate with this gender. Like, okay.
Fucking weird. But
nobody really should care.
So that first entrepreneur, that first business turned into a bit of a unfortunate ending, I guess, for lack of a better term. What have you done since? Like, you moved into this. I want to talk about this, your new startup now a little bit.
Yeah, so I've had multiple companies since then, all technology focused. I've been very focused on, so last few years I've gotten back into, so I left the Guard in 2010 officially, and I have had some cloud or some startups that were based on cloud technologies, also on what was called virtual desktop infrastructure, VDI. And then about 3 years ago, decided to get up into the software world. That's also when I decided to go back to school. So that's where I had my bachelor's in app development and then my master's in computer science, because I wanted to fully immerse myself back into the software side of it, because I worked a lot on the engineering ops side, not so much the software side of things. And so started Refactr about 2 years ago, and our whole goal was to make automating easier for IT service providers and managed security services providers. So companies that are providing IT services to end customers, that could be a small business, could be a medium-sized business, could be an enterprise. And so they're more like, outsourced IT, or that's another term that's used.
So you're like automating outsourced IT?
We're helping them automate so they can provide services to their customer base. So at the same time that everybody's trying to get into DevOps and DevSecOps and pushing that forward, at the end customers, they're also looking for service providers to help fill the talent gap for them to bring people in. And so that's kind of where we live, where you can use our platform to help automate. So we built a platform to do solution delivery so that you can take a software-defined solution. So you hear a lot of terms out there now like infrastructure as code or configuration management, or API integrations. And so we built a platform to be able to tie into infrastructure as code and configuration management and API integrations so that you can build a full solution. That way you can tie into the different systems or build the infrastructure you want to build and configure a solution and then iterate on it like you do in the software world. So in the ops side of the world, you normally used to working with servers and racking and stacking physical hardware, but now that everything's becoming as code, I like to call it as IT as code, which is also my Twitter handle. So just to throw it out there.
At IT as code.
Yeah, at IT as code, exactly. But it's IT as code. That's my mantra, is everything's shifting to being software defined or as code. And so we need to be getting people into the mindset that, as service providers for IT services to their customer base, they need to be focused on this modern shift towards IT as code. And so that's what we've been building, the platform we have, and trying to make it easier for them, which has been interesting and fun and also challenging, because we have to change the culture and the mind shift of where people are at with how they go about doing their day-to-day jobs, and being able to understand that automation is or really, people call it, DevOps, DevSecOps, being able to it's a shift in mindset and how you go about doing things. So there's like what's called in the DevOps world, it's called columns. So there's the C is for culture. So that's where you're focused on changing the culture and how people go about doing things. The A is for the automation piece. So you can go about automating. L is for lean. So essentially taking a lean
doing
approach.
As much as you can with as little as possible. Exactly.
And then the M is to measure, so you want to have something measurable outcomes to what you're doing. And then the S for? Sharing. So
sharing.
It's like collaborating, sharing. Even though I think that's the one thing that the DevOps world does in some ways. If you're like contributing as a community to an open source project,
like a GitHub or something.
Yeah. So you contribute to a project other people have that they may publish out on GitHub, but at the same time, a lot of times the stuff that people build out in those technologies, they don't, like the developer world and the software engineering world, people are always sharing stuff. So you can go to like Stack Overflow or other types of forums where you can ask a question and you can get an answer pretty relatively quickly. The DevOps world is not quite the same. You can, but it's a little bit more guarded on the information that's out there and what people are sharing. So I would love to see more of that happening, which is why we pushed out there playbook.cloud, which is we took an existing automation tool called Ansible. It's made by RedHat, which is now IBM. So I don't know, is that big blue, big red? Now they're big purple. But now I'm owned by IBM. But to have an Ansible as a service product offering, so we could take an automation tool and turn it into a SaaS-based, software as a service-based offering to where you can utilize it in the cloud. And the cool thing is we've done it all in Azure too, so we have a big push with Azure.
Cool. So
we'll be able to push that product out in the marketplace and get some more traction on it.
So that's like a Stack Overflow or something, but for development operations.
No, this is for automation tool for
Yeah.
companies to be able to leverage Ansible, but in the public cloud, so they don't have to install anything.
Oh, you're talking about your core, your core offering.
One of our products.
Yep. Okay, gotcha.
So we have two products. We have that one, which is the Ansible as a service product, and then we have another one called the Cloud Plus Security Architect platform, which is our solution delivery platform. So you can build the solution in Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, and then also you can configure it we have a tie into Ansible with it, and then you can also tie into APIs. So it's really about building a full solution and architecting out a reference architecture that you can deploy, and then you can iterate on over time. So if you want to add new cloud services, if you want to make changes to security controls on, say, maybe a VM or whatever it may be, you can do that from a holistic architecture standpoint versus, I'm going to chain these multiple tools together and I don't even know what it looks like or how things work. We've built that out into a platform where you can visualize it. But at the core of every single thing that you're building out in there, it is as code. So it's either infrastructure as code, configuration management as code, or it's API integrations as code. So they all have to speak code in order to actually work. But we've created a visual layer on top so you can visualize it all.
So are they using are they all using the same coding languages, or are they?
Yeah, so we kind of you don't have to do any coding in our platform. So we've leveled it. So it's what you call YAML or JSON, but YAML is essentially it's a play on words, but yet another markup language. It's a very human readable format to where it's super easy to read it. It's not actually code. It's what we call declarative, so you're declaring what you want, but you're not actually having to build out actual code. And so you can accomplish a lot of things without. So all the code, there is code, but it's behind the scenes that you're running, or you could have scripts and code that you want to introduce into the product offering. But the same thing with the infrastructure side of it, because you can build what's called a cloud template, so like an Azure Resource Manager template. That template is in what's called JSON, but it's in another, which stands for JavaScript object notation, which essentially is an object where you can again declare everything. It's structured a little bit differently than YAML, but it's the same concept where you can declare your infrastructure. And so you don't have to have a computer science degree to understand that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You just have to know a little bit of the fundamentals of how JSON works or how YAML works. And then obviously you have to know the ops side of it, so how it relates to what's actually going to be built out from an infrastructure standpoint, what you're configuring on the infrastructure, understanding how that maps into the security control requirements you have depending upon the compliance that the customer, your customer, or the customer has in there. So it could be HIPAA compliance or the Center for Internet Security framework that's out there. So that's one of the frameworks that people look at. There's another one's called NIST. So we look at the different frameworks and say, okay, you can build out stuff according to these frameworks too, but at the core of it all, it's infrastructure, it's the configuration of the infrastructure, it's the applications you install, it's the data that you're creating. So it's all the same things that you would have maybe in a data center, but now it's in the public cloud. It's in somebody else's data center, Microsoft, Google, or Amazon mostly.
AWS or something. Interesting. That's a lot of that's over my head, admittedly so. But I'm like I said,
I tried to keep it less techy.
No, it's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could have gotten much more technical on it. No, that's great. Definitely something B2B.
Yeah, right? Totally B2B.
Yeah, so you're probably dealing with, if you're dealing with clients, you're probably more you're dealing with the IT development
Yeah. Mostly security teams, IT teams, or IT, or service providers that are essentially providing IT services to, different types of businesses. Cool. So and we're totally 100% B2B.
How's business going?
Pretty good. We've got paying customers. We have released Playbook.cloud. We got over 125 users now. Nice. So we're getting there at a fair clip, and some paying customers too. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty awesome to see the growth on that. And some of the stuff we're working on now, like with the Azure Marketplace and stuff, is going to be cool. We may be in another company. We won the pitch competition last year for $100,000. Which is cool. We've been talking, looking at getting into the ConnectWise marketplace. That's the company. That's where we won at the IT Nation Connect event last year.
Oh, sweet!
So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So we got some notoriety there. I'm going to speak again there. I'm also speaking at All Day DevOps as well.
Where is that?
It's virtual. I'm presenting at that too. There's going to be last year there was around 50,000 people that attended.
Oh, sweet!
Overall, so it's essentially it's about 150 speakers. So I'm one of the 150 speakers. There are talks for 24 hours straight.
Oh, sweet.
And so you can attend any of the talks. Obviously, my session will be here.
Of course.
But yeah, we're going to do that. And actually, you should be back up here for that.
I might.
Yeah.
I might be around. I'm a bit of a nomad.
We could set up and have like
dude, we could have a little fireside chat and stuff. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. No,
so I'm actually doing a talk on IT as code for that.
Nice.
So yeah, around DevSecOps automation. But yeah, it should be a pretty good talk. But then there's going to be a ton of really awesome speakers in the DevOps world that are going to be there too. So that's one thing I'm doing. I'm also doing a Bright talk. Yeah, Bright talk.
What's that?
It's a forum for thought leaders to be able to present on different topics.
Okay.
So I'm presenting on DevOps and enterprise IT for this topic. Nice. Again, IT is code. Wink, wink.
At IT is code.
IT is code. IT is code. IT is code. And then I will be at IT Nation presenting on, guess what? IT is code. No, I'm not a robot.
You're programming the listeners.
IT is code. And actually,
what was it? What was the topic?
IT is code.
Oh, okay.
It's not it is code. Please don't say that. It's IT is code.
As code.
Yeah, it's code. IT Nation Connect 2019. Presenting there as well.
Nice.
That should be pretty good too. So
a busy couple of weeks.
Have a few things in the hopper from now to then, but should be pretty good.
Nice.
And I'll be at Ansible Fest too, as well. So that's in Atlanta.
That's in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet, dude.
So
nice.
Right on.
Good. Is there anything else I wanted to talk to you about? Because if not, that's a pretty good place to stop, I think.
The final countdown. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do.
There we go.
Do-do-do-do. The final countdown.
Anything you want to plug before we wrap this up?
Yeah, so just the startup we have, Refactr. So that's REFACTR. So no final O vowel, .it. And so it's a play on words. We're refactoring IT. So you can go there and check out what we're doing currently. And then we also have, playbook.cloud, which is self-explanatory. And it's actually the URL, so playbook.cloud. You can check that out too. That's the Ansible as a service product offering that we're really excited about and building out for anybody that wants to get in. You can sign up for a free account right out the gate if you want to check it out and you're interested in Ansible as a service. And aside from that, you can look me up on LinkedIn under IT as Code, as well as on Twitter as IT as Code, as well as on Facebook as IT as Code, as well as pretty much everywhere as IT as Code. They call me the pervasive IT as Code guy.
At least you get consistent branding.
That's true, yeah. IT as Code.
Right on, man. Well, it's been a pleasure swapping some of those stories, and looking forward to seeing what you got going on in the next couple of months and in the future, man. It's bright.
Awesome.
That future's bright, man.
Thanks, Brian. Really a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Mike Fraser, everyone.
You've been listening to Half the City with Brian Schoenborn, presented by 8B Media. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your friends, and leave a solid 5-star review to ensure these stories get spread far and wide. For more information, as well as to listen to other shows, including Relentless, a survivor's search for passion, purpose, and inner peace. And beyond Relentless, be sure to check out 8bmedia.com. Thank you for listening.